again, and welcome to Logistics Unplugged. I'm your host, Brian Blaylock, and today we're continuing our special edition spotlight on the LTL carrier space. In this second installment of our LTL Carrier Summit series, we're once again bringing industry leaders to the table to explore what's next for freight, from market pressures to technology shifts and everything in between. Let's pull back the curtain and hear directly from the carriers that are navigating it all. We're going to kick it off today with our good friends from Estes. And I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself if you don't mind. I've got Pat Martin, Lamar Calloway, and Jim Shoemate. And Pat, we're going to start with you.
So I'm Pat Martin. Was that correct?
That was correct. Unless I mispronounced it, then you're way off.
No, that's correct.
And Pat, tell us what you do at Estes.
So I'm our Corporate Vice President of Sales and Strategy. I've been at Estes for 25 years.
So still getting your feet wet, right?
So
now, right?
Hopefully it's going to work out.
Let us know if they decide to keep you after this trial period that you're on.
Will do.
Lamar, why don't you take it next?
Lamar Calloway. I'm the manager of transportation intermediaries, a.k.a. third-party sales. I've been at Estes for 13 years now.
Wonderful. All right. And Jim, that brings it to you.
All right. Jim Shoemate. I'm the manager of our 3PL pricing team, and I've been with Estes 18 years now.
I like it. By a show of hands, how many of those names did I mispronounce during the making of this film?
Yeah,
so
you hit them all.
Hit them all. All right. That's a first. There's always a first time for everything.
3 for 3.
I love it. So we're going to start off with just a couple of quick questions, and we just want to do this to let everybody get to know you a little bit. And I'm going to take you back, and it doesn't have to be high school, college, and I don't care if it is. It can be when you're on the playground when you're a kid. But I'm always curious how people make the journey to being in the positions that all of us are in now in this industry, how that choice was made. So, Pat, let's start with you. How did we wind up at Estes? How did we wind up in this industry? And what did you think you were going to do?
Well, I wound up here completely by accident.
All right.
I'm not sure there's too many people that grow up going, you know what? If I could hit it big, I would work at Estes Express Lines in sales.
I like it. So
it's an accident.
That was the accident. Okay.
But I grew up in the golf business, and so I kind of thought that I would always be in the golf business. And that, I kind of figured that out when I was young, and so worked my way into the golf business. And then that didn't work out totally. That's another long story.
Is that the golf playing business?
No, I was with Ben Hogan Company.
Okay.
And, that was a bit of a turnaround that didn't turn around.
Didn't quite turn, huh?
But I always thought I'd be in that business. In fact, I was talking to Mizuno and TaylorMade about going to work for those guys. And I was on a golf trip in Ireland.
Wow.
And I met this guy, Billy Hupp, who I'd never met before.
Okay.
And Billy Hupp is now our vice chairman, Rob's first cousin, our CEOs, and now chairman of the board. But I met him on a golf trip, and we had a good time. And he said, I was telling him what I was kind of up to, and kind of had to make a decision on my career when I got back from Ireland.
Okay.
And he said, well, I want you to meet my cousin. Come by and say hello. We're trying to grow a trucking company, and I'd love for you to just meet him and see what you think. So
in Ireland, you run into the guy by accident that you're going to wind up working with for 25 years. 25 years. Yeah. I had no idea what LTL was. I thought all trucks were completely full. Why would they ever ship a truck down the road that wasn't completely full? So I've learned a lot in 25 years, but absolutely by accident. I love it. So, Lamar, he kind of set the bar
he did set it really
high
high
for finding the job in Ireland that's going to bring him back to Estes in America. So
I've got a good one, though. I've got a good one.
I like it.
Very interesting. I grew up an athlete, right? Again, I thought I was going to be in sports in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I was a pretty good football player coming out of high school, went to college and played football. And while I was in college, decided I didn't want to do that anymore. But, I was kind of working into the IT world, right? I was going to school for that at the time. And when I finished up school, my first job, I'm working on the help desk at overnight transportation, right?
Oh, okay.
So I'm
All right.
thinking that I'm doing an IT job, right? You know what I mean? Meanwhile, I'm learning about terminals,
Yeah,
right? You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
I've got people from the terminal calling me and trying to get things fixed, so on and so forth, right? And so I worked that overnight for a little while, and I continued down my IT path and quickly discovered that a lot of IT jobs were starting to get outsourced.
Uh-oh.
Right. So again, this is early 2000s, so I'm kind of putting a little date on myself now. But anyway, fast forward, I was just really preparing myself for my trucking career.
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
career in transportation. And again, I came to Estes about 13 years ago. And, when I came to Estes, even though I had been in transportation for a while, I'd worked for a container company. I've worked in food distribution. I knew nothing about LTL at that point in time.
Completely different animal, right?
Yeah, and then even coming in the door at Estes, the group that I worked in used to be called Level 2 Logistics. Now, Estes Logistics is a subsidiary of Estes.
Okay.
They were not doing LTL over there.
No.
And so kind of backed my way into to the LTL world. And you know what? There's not too many other things that I would want to do with my life now. 25 years later. The community of LTL is amazing. Again, being in the third-party side of it, I think makes it a little bit more fun and innovative. You're always dealing with high-level people and decision makers and fun people, right? Again, seems like all the fun people on the 3PL side.
I like it.
Yeah.
Way to go. Well, I'm sorry that you had to be faced with me to put the icing on that cake for you today, Lamar.
Oh, that's all right, man.
Listen,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we've had a journey from Ireland to logistics, and we've gone from the help desk to logistics, from IT. So it's all on you, Jim. Now you got to have a good story to bring us home.
I'm not sure if mine's going to be this good. I think I probably was destined to work in this industry. Growing up, my dad was a truck driver. So,
Nothing.
Yeah,
nothing
so our
wrong
whole
with
life,
that.
my whole life growing up, I always heard all the stories about how the trucking industry was going, things he was doing. So he always told me he didn't want me to be a truck driver when I grew up. So he made sure he sent me to college. So I majored in statistics at college. So when I came out of college, I was looking for a job, and he still has some connections. I actually started at overnight too, like Lamar.
Wow.
So I went in.
That's a happy accident.
Yeah. So I worked for overnight for quite a long time, up until the time UPS Freight bought them.
Okay.
And the next year, Estes was starting to grow a little bit more, and they were looking for people. So I made the move over there, and now I've been over there for 18 years.
Wow. Okay. So we had two stories that came out of left field and one that came right down the middle, right?
Did you ever call Lamar on the help desk?
I may have and didn't even realize it.
Well, let me give you his answer. Turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, that's where you always start, right?
Yeah, that's always it. And I know that because I only hear that about 65 times a day when I screw something up in here. So thank you to the IT team for that one.
Yes, sir. They do a good job. Though,
absolutely. Absolutely. So we know a little bit about you, a little bit about how you got there. So the second question is pretty straightforward. We want to know what it takes to make for a strong carrier-shipper relationship, and obviously I'm going to want you to take that to the 3PL side of that too, for a carrier-3PL relationship. And we'll just go in the same order. We'll start with you, Pat.
Well, I would say, up until, 2010, 2009, when we went through that recession.
Yep.
There weren't that many 3PLs, and so after that, they really, I don't know how many were born after that day.
Sure, yeah.
Big birthday for a lot of them.
Yeah, born out of necessity, right?
Yep, for sure. And so we've been doing business with them for a long time, and we're doing business with them before then. And I think it always comes back to trust. That's probably the biggest, factor is both of us are calling on customers.
Right.
And so
absolutely.
I've always looked at the 3PL as an extension of our sales team and part of our sales team.
It's a great way to look at it. I like that.
Yeah. So, but I just say trust. I mean, the back soliciting can be where the problems come in. So, having a process in play where you're playing nice in the sandbox
sure.
and not intentionally doing lots of harmful things, you could work well together. And I think helping us fill lanes, helping us grow business, helping us do lots of things, and vice versa, us being a good partner too. How can we help you? one of the things that I think's really helped Estes in dealing with third parties is, when rates are going up or rates are going down, we're not gouging. We're not
right. I agree.
we're
with
not
that.
trying to make money in the short run. It's about making money long term. And you treat your partners like family. And so I look at you guys as family, and have known you guys for a long time.
We appreciate that, and I think that you really did hit a note that matters a lot to me. That trust piece can cure a lot of other things that can always. Anything can happen in business, right? Anything can be a struggle or a difficulty, but having trust in the middle of it can just about repair anything. So thank you for that answer. And Lamar, we're going to bring you up next.
Pat hit it right on the head. One of the things that I would like to add to that is
I actually stole that from Lamar.
Yeah, you did.
I saw you reading over his notes before we got started.
That's right. Yeah,
that's where that trust just went out the window after that.
I'll flip that. Pat. I actually learned from Pat. Right. Again, when I came to Estes, I'll rewind a little bit. Actually, was interviewed by Pat. And he told me a lot of things at that point in time. But once I got hired by Estes and I came over to the sales side, I was interviewed by Pat again. So I think I've learned more from Pat than he's ever learned from me. So let's not get that twisted. As far as relationships with third parties, I'm going to say communication. Communication is the key, right?
Great answer.
And if we can clearly communicate, what our goals are amongst each other, then we can get to that end game, right? Again, the carrier understanding what the business model is on the third party side, because there's lots of different intermediaries that are out there, right? And again, some people throw like a freight forwarder into a third party space, or a contract negotiator into a third party space, right? There's lots of people that just purely negotiate and then get out of the way, right?
Right.
They put them in that same space. Again, understanding that business model, and again, that comes through communication. I think that's one of the key points, man. And if we can, keep those communication lines open, and again, that comes with good people. As Pat already talked about, being around good people and having good people in the industry together. I think you can communicate clearly and have a good relationship there. So
I love it. And so far what we've got is honesty and communication. So it sounds like telling the truth to each other, even when it's difficult,
yes, sir.
is a good place to start. So
yeah, same way you do with your wife, right? Tell the truth.
Absolutely. And it ain't always easy, and I love you, honey. But it's all coming from a good place. And Jim, you got two hard answers to follow.
Yeah, no, that's tough.
What do you got left
being
for
in
us
last
there?
place here. That's not. Well, I agree with these two guys. Trust and communication are very important. I think it's really easy to be a good partner when things are going well. I think when you have problems, that's when you need to have good communication with your partners, and
Absolutely.
you can work through trouble together, not point fingers at each other, to come to a solution versus blaming someone else for it.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Now, these are fantastic answers, and I think I would have already known that about you before you sat down, because I've been a fan of the relationship for a long time. So I appreciate that. But we have the most important question coming up next. So I really want you guys to put your thinking hats on this one. What is your favorite trucking song? So sit with that for a second, and Pat, we're going to start with you. And no pressure, buddy, but you got to bring it home strong.
Favorite trucking song. I was hoping to steal Lamar's answer again, but I'm going to go with the great American icon, Willie Nelson, On the Road Again.
Love it. Great answer. On the road again.
And actually, I got to see him in concert earlier this year. He's 91 years old.
Isn't that crazy?
Plays the guitar like a machine. I just couldn't believe how well he could still play a guitar. And I hope I'm even around at 91, which there's probably no shot at that.
He's got definitely more energy at 91 than I do at slightly less than 91.
Well, how old are you, by the way?
We won't put it no. That's under NDA and approaching the 6.
37.
So there you go. All right. So great answer. Love that one. Lamar, man. You got to bring it.
I don't know, man. I'm sitting here contemplating. I've got all kind of songs going through my head. Again, I'm a little bit more urban. So again, Ludacris Rollout,
I like
kind
that.
of reminds me of rolling. And, maybe I'll I'll throw a second one in there. You know, we were talking about this earlier, but Tina Turner, Rolling on the River.
Absolutely.
Has nothing to do with being
Not
in the
a
truck,
thing.
but when you say big wheels keep on churning, right? I'm going to hold out right there. I'm going to stick with those two right there.
How does that song go, Lamar?
You want me to sing it?
Yeah, sing it.
If you sing it with me, I'll sing.
Let's go.
Hey, I'll be the background singer. I'll just do the rolling.
There we go. Rolling. We're going to dance. Rolling on the river.
There we go. All right. That's a hit song waiting to happen. You know what's funny is we just had this conversation shortly ago, and I said the same thing. I know it's a steamship.
That's right.
But it says big wheels keep turning. How can you not think about trucking when you hear that?
That's right. That's right.
Lamar, you get A+.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on. Jim?
All right, I was going to take On the Road Again, but Pat took that. So
what a
I
thief.
think there was an old song. Wasn't there an old song called Convoy?
I love it.
Yeah.
Convoy is fantastic.
Yeah.
I've given that as my canned answer a couple of times because you can also sub that in for your favorite trucking movie. So
okay. Yeah.
always a winner there, and always winners in the room with me here. And I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this, guys. This
We
was
enjoyed
fun.
it as well. Thank you so
thanks a
much.
lot.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
And listeners, we appreciate you indulging us and letting you learn a little bit about Estes today, and we appreciate the relationship that we have and you guys being here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, listeners. Great stuff, Estes. We appreciate you. Now we're excited to get things going with our friends at XPO. I'm going to just quickly introduce you, and you tell us a little bit about yourself. I've got Rachel Jorgensen, Eric Goheen, and Mike Gersham. And if I mispronounced anything, it's because I mispronounced most words, so I apologize in advance for that. So we'll start with Rachel. Rachel, tell us a little bit about your role there at XPO.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Rachel Jorgensen. I lead our 3PL team as well as premium services at XPO.
Thank you. And Aaron, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi. I'm Erin Goheen. I'm a vice president of technology. I lead software engineering as well as our enterprise data solutions.
Wonderful. And Mike, you bring us home.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Bergsman, Director of Pricing, over our local department and our 3PL department.
Great. Well, listen, I really appreciate you guys being here with us, and anxious to just get a couple of questions out, a few of them for business and maybe one of them for fun. So we're going to start with the business side of this. And it could be a little bit fun too. I want to know a little bit about the story that got you from wherever there was when you were trying to figure out what is it that I'm going to do for a living, whether it was in school or whether it was before school or that dream that you had that led you to being in the doors of XPO. And let's go in the same order we started with. Rachel, we'll start with you.
All right, so I have been in logistics for 19 years. I come from a family of logistics. I am from Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I started my career with ArcBest. My mother is still there in risk management.
Wow.
My father is a driver.
Okay.
Not for ArcBest, but a driver. And so when
Okay.
I was in college, I was torn. I did a missionary trip to China. And I'm like, do I continue with mission work or do I go to a big city, Chicago? So China or Chicago?
Wow.
After 5 weeks in China, I came back and said, nope, I want to go to Chicago. And I found out that ArcBest offers a management training program. I applied and was selected, and ArcBest moved me to Chicago.
That is amazing, and I'm really impressed. It only took you 5 weeks to make a decision. So good job on the China visit. That's pretty incredible. I've never done anything quite as bold as going to China. So good for you. Well traveled, Aaron. You got a tough trail to follow there. Let's hear your story.
Yeah, speaking of travel, so I spent the first decade of my career in transportation, but actually with the airlines.
Okay.
So spent quite a bit of time with the airlines and then made the transition over to the logistics space a little over 4 years ago.
Okay. And what were you doing in the airlines? Was it logistics with the airlines as well?
Revenue management. So I
Okay.
spent a bunch of time leading commercial revenue management strategy roles and building out revenue management systems.
Okay, very good. Well, so I'm Mike. On your side, I'm going to force you to jump in and do what I wanted to do when I grew up part of it because their stories was too good and too directly into logistics. So there's got to be a cowboy, ball player, hockey player, ballet dancer in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
let's figure out which one you were.
Yeah, it wasn't ballet.
Wasn't the ballet? Okay, we'll scratch that one off
I
the
did
list.
I played a lot of sports growing up.
Okay.
I played soccer, hockey, golf, but I never really wanted to do that, full time.
Okay.
So it was fun, just for fun. In terms of what I wanted to do, it was tough for me. I wanted to get into sports journalism, interestingly
Oh.
enough. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that is interesting.
I went to Western Michigan University to pursue that, and then I quickly realized I couldn't make any money, so I changed my tune. And
It's funny how that works,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's crazy. And then while I was going to college, I worked at a hotel. I was a bellman.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, was actually a really, really cool job.
That seems like it would be fun. You get to
Yeah.
meet a lot of different people.
I did.
right?
I met a lot of famous people.
Okay. Well, we better be careful
I can
with
say
what
them.
stories we should.
There's nothing bad, but
We'll use our high-tech beeping equipment so that we can delete out the names later.
can I say them? Am I allowed?
Sure.
That's okay. Carrie Underwood,
Okay.
Common.
Very cool.
Let's see. There were quite a few coaches, like sports coaches. What's his name? Brent Musburger.
That's awesome.
That was a really cool one. That was actually a really awesome story. It would take a while to explain, but that interaction was really funny. And then, yeah. So after that, decided I wanted to get into more like investments and banking. Worked at a bank while I finished out college in collections.
Okay.
And I realized I wasn't any good at that, so I pursued a banking like operations job.
Okay.
Did that for a couple of years. Ended up going to grad school and found a job as an analyst at Conway Freight at the time. So started as a implementation analyst, kind of worked my way up and did a bunch of other stuff, and here
there
I
you are.
am almost 12 years later.
I like it.
Yeah.
Great past, great stories. I appreciate that. And we're going to go around the horn again, and I have one simple question on the business side for you. And maybe it's not a simple question, but talk to me about what makes for a good carrier-shipper relationship. And if you will, take it one step more and let me know what makes for a good carrier 3PL relationship. And we'll just keep the order the same. Rachel, if you wouldn't mind jumping on that.
I think this is like any relationship, and it has to be honesty and transparency.
I agree. That is a beautiful answer. Do you feel the same way about both of those, the shipper and the, can we lie to the, no, I'm just kidding.
No, regardless, shipper, 3PL,
Shipper,
you have to have
3PL.
that. You have to be honest. You have to be transparent. Each party's going to have areas that they want to improve, and we cannot make those improvements unless we're going to have great communication and talk about it.
I love it. That is a great answer. Aaron, are you going to top that one?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand what both parties need to know that you can kind of meet in the middle and fulfill each other's needs.
Very true. I am also going to take this advice home with my wife of 31 years, and we're going to see if I can use that to be even better. I like it. So you got a hard row to follow now. They gave two beautiful answers. What are you going to bring us home with, Mike?
I was going to say transparency, but I'll go with consistency. So
Okay.
having a consistent approach, taking feedback well, and having that go both ways, I think is extremely valuable. So yeah, I think I'd go with consistency.
I love all the answers. I think every piece of that is why we appreciate the relationship that we have. So thank you so much for that. Want to have a little bit of fun before we cut it short here. And I want to ask you one very burning, important question. What is your favorite trucking song? And it can be a song about trucking, about 18-wheelers. It can be a song that you think is a great song for the driver driving down the road. So I want to open the floodgate up a little bit for you there. So we'll start with you on that, Rachel. Let's hear it.
18 wheels and a dozen roses.
Nice. That's, what's her name? Martina? Is it Martina?
You know, I was told I'm not allowed to have my phone to
Oh! That is actually a really good song, and I think I might potentially be right. We'll have to look that one up later. No, great choice. I like it. Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in a good cry, we can go with Highway Don't Care by Tim McGraw and Taylor Swift.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, that is a good one for that. And you'll probably get a lot of votes. There seem to be a lot of Swifties out there. And a few Tim McGraws out there, too. So I like it. All right. It's all on you now. Bring us home.
All right, this is way out there, but Limp Bizkit. Do you remember?
I do.
That? Yeah, really good group. Rollin'. You ever heard that song?
I'm trying to picture it.
It's fantastic.
Can you
Okay.
sing it for
I'm
us?
Yeah, can you hit a
sing it.
few bars of it?
Get your bleeps
No,
out.
no, I can't. But
Are there any words you're allowed to say in a podcast in the making of that song?
Rollin'.
Roll.
Rollin' is said a few times during
That would be
song.
the last words that you can say. I've heard a few Limp Bizkit songs, so probably that might be about it.
I haven't even thought of Limp Bizkit in at least 10 years. So
Well, my
that
stomach's
came
been
out
over
of-
here growling, so I've thought about biscuits, but not Limp Biscuits for the last couple of minutes. So, hey, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here with us this week, and thank you so much for indulging us and having this conversation. I appreciate the good sense of humor, the great answers, and the great relationship. And audience, thank you for listening to us. We'll see you next time. I like it, XPO. Great insight. Now let's get ready to dig in a little deeper with ABF. And I'm thrilled today to have two special guests with me from ABF, and that's Evaristo Lopez and Andrew Schweitzer. How'd I do, guys?
You did great.
Did I nail it? Great. So listen, I want to let you guys take a quick minute, just introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about what you do at ABF, and then we got just a couple of questions for you, and I thank you so much for indulging us and sitting down to do this today. So we'll start, Evaristo, with you.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your role at ABF.
Awesome. So I'm the 3PL lead, basically like managing all of our different 3PL relationships. It's a very interesting role. I never thought I would be in sales, but it's a very interesting role between like sales and strategy, trying to like put our arms around the entire 3PL vertical. And yeah, it's been great, like 3 years or so of doing this.
I like it. Well, listen, Andrew.
Good morning,
Fill us
Brian.
in. Good morning.
Andrew
Good to see you.
Schweitzer. I'm the VP of Yield for ArcBest, and I support our pricing, yield strategy, rating, and costing teams. We do a lot of pricing work for ABF Freight, along with all of our other service lines at ArcBest.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I know that you've introduced yourself in the companies, but what I'd really like to do is I'd like to understand the two of you a little bit and understand how we got from there, wherever there is, to here. And that can be, what did I think I was going to do when I was a kid and I was just trying to kick around the tires of a few different types of jobs, or what, when I was in college and I changed my major 14 times. What was it that I thought I was going to do? How did I wind up in logistics? How did I wind up here?
Yeah,
Fair
very good.
enough?
I'll jump right in, Brian.
Let's do it.
So I did a lot of dirty jobs growing up and enjoyed, umpiring.
Isn't there a TV show about that?
Working in paper mills and lots of brooms and, just kind of keeping things clean and running. I really thought I'd be doing manufacturing at some point.
Okay.
Studying engineering and being, East Coast or West Coast. But coming out of school in Oklahoma, there was this little trucking company out of Arkansas that sent a guy over and was doing some recruiting. So doing a tour of ABF in beautiful Fort Smith, Arkansas, in a nice air-conditioned office was more than I could, pass up.
Yeah.
So it
was way cooler in there, is what you're saying.
Man, just looked pretty easy compared to working on in those paper mills and hot manufacturing lines. So getting into transportation, because coming right out of school, that looked like the way to go, to work in a nice air-conditioned office all day.
I like it. So you were an early adopter. You
That's
got
right.
straight from
That's
school,
right.
jumped right in, both feet.
Little did I know that the docks in South Chicago get down to 20 below zero in the wintertime, and in Dallas it gets a little hot on the dock in the summertime. So they got me with the nice office tour.
Yeah, so the air conditioned part won you over, but you felt a few of the extremes after that, right?
That's right.
I love it. Evaristo, can you top that?
I don't know. So I was born and raised in Mexico, and I did industrial engineering. Early on, I feel like industrial engineering plays a little bit in like different directions.
Sure.
I don't think I ever thought I would end up in logistics. I think I wanted to do more like management type track. So a lot of my early internships and like my first job out of college, it was in logistics. Working for a big manufacturer of pasta, flour, and cookies down in Mexico. And then I decided to do my master's degree. I ended up here in America, and just funny enough, it was at Oklahoma State, and so it's like
crazy.
very close from Arkansas and our headquarters, and I got recruited by ArcBest, and this was what, like, I don't know, 11, 12 years ago. So yeah, I feel like once you're in logistics, it just kind of like pulls you in. You can't ever leave logistics.
That seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
I see that a lot.
So I feel like, I've done like all sorts of different jobs, right? Like I've done like costing, I've done like warehousing, like vendor management, and like now obviously on the LTL space, just like very interesting, different things. But like it's nice about logistics that it's like so diverse and like there's so many different facets to it. You don't ever get tired of doing new things.
Oh, I love it. That's such a great answer, and it's cool that you guys wound up kind of in the same spot, being recruited at the same location. So obviously, ArcBest is doing a good job of recruiting at Oklahoma or Oklahoma State.
ABF is doing a great job. That's right.
So the and was that Oklahoma State or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma State. Yeah, we're both Cowboys. That's
I
right.
like it. Okay, very good.
We do recruit Sooners too. Our CEO is a proud Sooner.
So you're not allowed to hold that against them then,
That's
right?
right. We got to stick together across state lines. That's right.
I'll say Judy always brings it up though. Every time we meet, like she gives me a hard time about being from OSU.
That's right. She raised a couple Razorbacks, so I think we all know how to call the Hogs now. Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting is I've had a lot of back-to-back Arkansas folks coming here today, so you guys are representing pretty well.
I think it is the center of the transportation and logistics universe. That's
and
right.
we don't know why that is either, right?
It's a great place to run trucks.
There's a little company in Arkansas that makes that that interesting, right?
Yeah.
So we have one final question. It really is the most important question, and I hope you guys are prepared for it. Well, you shouldn't be, because I'm not supposed to have told you what it is. But I need to know, and Evaristo, we'll start with you. What is your favorite trucking song?
Ooh, good. That's a good one.
That's tough. I don't know. I feel like it would have. I'm not a huge country fan, country music fan, but like I feel it would have to be a country song. I would just like picture myself if I was driving a big truck across country. Yeah, it would have to be. I'm trying to think. Like I don't listen to a lot of country, but like like the first song that comes to mind is "Fancy Like" from what's the name of the guy? Like his last name is Hayes. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend to like sing it here.
Milvia, does our producer have a chime in on that one? I think I know. I think I know the Hayes guy. I can't think of his first name, but that is the first time I've heard that. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to find that out. So.
I should probably like try to.
I'm glad you hit Evaristo first on that. That's good. That's a tough one.
Oh, it's called "Fancy Like."
Oh, like the Applebee's song.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Fancy Like Applebee's.
Walker Hayes. There you go.
I like it.
Is there a truck in that song?
I'm not sure.
He just feels trucking about it.
It just feels, yeah.
Don't judge, Andrew.
No judgment. I was just trying to remember the.
You probably know way more country songs than I do.
And to be fair, Evaristo, it doesn't have to be a country song. So, drivers, he apologizes in advance for assuming that all of you are just country fans. Some of you that are rocking to Metallica right now can.
There you go.
So, Andrew.
Oh yeah,
you're teed up, buddy. It's all you.
So thankful Evaristo had to go first. So with the benefit of thinking through it, I've been on my playlist lately. Sturgill Simpson's been coming up a lot, and he's got a couple good versions of his song called "Long White Line." So
I like it.
If you haven't checked out Sturgill Simpson, check him out.
Sturgill Simpson.
He's got a good voice, and he's got some arrangements with bluegrass bands, and he's got the country thing going pretty good.
Very cool.
And that's definitely the road trip song. But as an '80s kid, I think I got to admit my first thought, which I would have told you had you really caught me by surprise, was whatever the theme song was when Sylvester Stallone's learning how to arm wrestle and
somebody
driving
else
down the road.
said that the over the top.
Over the top. I have no idea what the theme song is, but it's about as cheesy as the '80s music gets. So.
I gotta look. Was it that like Far From Nowhere or something like that?
There you go.
I think that was the only time. I think his brother got in on a couple of songs in a couple of his movies. Frank Stallone's, right?
I think after watching that movie, I was ready to drive a big rig. Yeah,
I like it.
That's right.
I like it. So we've got a winner here, and it's interesting. I asked a question in a previous one of these about favorite trucking movie or TV show, and someone actually brought Over the Top in as their choice there.
Yeah.
So
I know Top Gun got a lot of naval flight pilots recruited. I think Over
there
the
you
Top
go.
was good for our industry. That's right.
I like it. So so now we pulled together all the different parts of the entertainment world for this one. I'm loving it, guys. You were a lot of fun. I appreciate it, and I apologize for butchering a couple things in the middle there.
It was great, Brian. Thanks so much.
We'll try it again another time, but you guys were awesome, and I really appreciate this. And I do appreciate you guys being here this week and sharing this time with us. And I appreciate you so much joining us today on Logistics Unplugged. Thank the listeners for listening to us, and we'll see you next time. That's a wrap. Thank you, ABF team. Now let's get ready to have a great talk with our friends at AAA Cooper. And I'm thrilled today to have a special guest, AAA Cooper's Dirk Willett and Tim Bodovinik. and I'm sure that I butchered that, Jim, so I'll let you correct it, and I'll let both of you tell us a little bit about you and your role at AAA Cooper. So, Dirk, why don't you get us started?
Thank you, Brian. My name's Dirk Willett. I lead corporate sales for AAA Cooper, which encompasses strategic channel solutions, which is the reason why we're here today. That's part of the 3PL vertical.
I love it. Appreciate that. And Jim, fix my butchering of your last name and tell us about your role.
Brian, I now have something to hang over you. I've been called a lot of things before, but never Tim.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But I have heard
Jim.
many variations of my last name. So, yes, my name is Jim Badovinac.
Butchered it front and back. So.
That's okay. No worries. I'm used to it. Not the first name so much. That's usually pretty easy.
I get brain a lot until people know me, and then they never say that again. I don't know why.
Just doesn't make sense. And I'm the national account manager for AAA Cooper in the Southeast. I cover North Carolina, South Carolina, and North Georgia, north of I-20.
Okay, very good. Well, gentlemen, I really do appreciate you being here, not only to join us this week for everything we have going on here, but specifically giving me the time to sit down today so that we can let everyone know a little bit about AAA Cooper and a little bit about your history there. And that's really what we're going to do. I want to understand how the two of you got to the place that you're at in AAA Cooper, whether that journey is a conversation about what I thought I was going to do when I was still, being an annoying teenager in high school, to going into college, to what made you make the decision to get into logistics. How did we get to AAA Cooper? And Jim, since I royally butchered you the first time, I'm going to have you start us off and tell us a little bit about your history, and Dirk, I'll have you bring that home.
Perfect. Yeah, so my history is a bit of a mountain navigation type thing. I didn't know what I wanted to be in high school and college. That's why I think I ended up in logistics.
Yeah.
I started out way back when. If you had told me 36 years ago that I'd still be working and loving what I do, I would have said you're crazy. I would have thought I would have been retired by now. But now retirement is so far in the future because I'm having so much fun.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just AAA Cooper is an amazing company, and Dirk and I will both get into that. But my career, I started way back when, 1987, with a company that is very highly revered today, but wasn't so much back then, Old Dominion Freight Lines. It was a struggling company, and I was a young man right out of college.
Okay.
I was working sales, operations. I was doing everything. 15, 16-hour days, certainly not what I anticipated and not what most of my friends were doing right out of college, but I fell in love with it. And I got recruited by a very small company called Arkansas Freightways as a local account manager in the Chicago market, and did that for a couple of years, and that was 1990. In 1992, 1993, we changed our name to American Freightways. And I got promoted to national accounts, and that's where I really fell in love with sales. I traveled, I was on airplanes, I was calling on big brand names, felt really important, felt really good about what I was doing, and I was pretty good at it. Good enough where I got a call to see if I was interested in a pricing position. So a sales guy going to a pricing role, pretty unheard of in our industry. Yeah. And so I got the opportunity to move to Harrison, Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, and lived there and ran the pricing department for FedEx Freight for 20 years.
Wow.
And then we were purchased by FedEx and had an opportunity the last 5 years of my career at FedEx to not only be involved in LTL, but also be involved in parcel. And I got an opportunity to travel the world there. Spent a lot of time in India, Dubai, Amsterdam. We had purchased TNT, so I spent a lot of time there converting their pricing department over to the way we did things in the States with FedEx. And I retired. I'm using finger quotes. I retired in 1998 and moved to Memphis from Northwest Arkansas. Moved to Memphis, worked for a small consulting firm. Did that for 6 years. And Dirk and I ran into each other about 4 years into that 6-year stint. And he was telling me about AAA Cooper and all the great things that AAA Cooper was doing. And at the time, I was happy. But I listened to Dirk.
Sure.
That those comments that he made to me that day when we got together, we hadn't seen each other for quite some time. They stuck with me, and a couple years later, where I was at, we weren't headed in the direction that I thought was appropriate, and reached out to Dirk and said, hey, remember that conversation? Yeah. And he said, I absolutely do. And we talked for about a year. And last June, the opportunity presented itself for me to transition over to AAA Cooper, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's the best career-based decision I've made. And I couldn't be happier. I'm at a point in my life, and I'm not embarrassed to talk about it. I'm 60 years old, and I feel like I'm 35. Yeah. Doing great things with a great company, and I've got a long runway, and I feel like I still have a career left to work.
I love it.
So
I love
super
it.
happy.
That is a fantastic story. I really appreciate it, and it's nice that story leads us to you, Dirk, and so we'll let you take it from there.
My middle name is Segway, by the way.
Middle name is Segway.
Yes.
Perfect. I thought it was. Seems like a common right. Middle name.
Yeah, I'm so glad I brought you with me this week, Jim. A lot of parallels between Jim's career and my career. What I find interesting about this industry is pre-COVID. Very few people really knew what supply chain was about.
Absolutely.
And the promotion of supply chain through COVID really brought prominence to our industry that I've never seen before. When I go back to 1983 when I graduated high school, my parents were both educators, and father was a superintendent of schools, mother was a school teacher, and all I ever wanted to be was a teacher and a coach. Okay. My parents prevented me from doing that. They said, in Arkansas, you just can't make a living. You can do anything other than be a teacher. And so I went to school, and my college advisor says to me, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't really know. My parents won't allow me to do what I want to do. He said, tell you what, we're starting up a new program. It's called Supply Chain Management. Why don't you take a couple of classes under me? If you like it, I guarantee I can find you a job.
It's a nice thing to hear.
Well, it is. And he said, it pays well, and there's always a need for it. And he said, you'll never be unemployed. And so I graduated in 1987. And as all of us in this industry, we all have a unique story.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did we get in this business? Because no one ever starts off saying, I want to get in transportation. I want to be in supply chain. It was rare in 1987. Yeah. And so I started with a company straight out of college into sales, which was really unheard of. And I was there about 2.5 years. I called my college advisor. I said, I'm not sure this company's great for me. He said, son, all you need is about 2.5 years, and you can write your ticket and go anywhere. I was living in Kansas City at the time, and I was from Arkansas. And this small little startup that Jim's talking about, Arkansas Freightways, called one day, and were going to bring me back home. And so I joined that company, and within 30 days, Jim and I started right about the same time. Okay. And 1989, 1990, local account executive in Little Rock, Arkansas. My career took me quickly into operations management, national account sales. Been in sales leadership for almost 30 years in many different capacities, including the global parcel company that Jim and I both worked for over 25 years. That's what got me in this business, and I'm very fortunate that occurred. I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't introduced from my college advisor into this industry, because it's not something I set out to do. Yeah. But I think if you ask everybody who's in this industry, and I do often, help me understand why you're in this business. Everyone has a unique story. I love the fact that you asked that question. I wish I knew the answers to all my peers that are here right now.
Well, you'll get to hear them at some point. This is fantastic. You guys have such an intertwined story of getting there. I love that. And
it's pretty cool.
I love to see how I always say how much relationships matter. And I get to see this with the two of you in person. And that means a lot to me as somebody who came into this industry a little bit later, but stumbled into it a little bit differently. What's interesting is the three of us, I think, graduated in the same high school class, but in different states, of course, from where I was. So we're going to have to get together and have a high school reunion at some point.
Let's do it.
I like it. Took me one more year to finish college than it did you, so I must have been a little bit slower.
You may have been in pre-law. They took me out of that real quick and said, you need to come over and get this line.
No, they didn't. They didn't sign me up for that one either. But thanks for asking, Dirk. I was one of those who switched advisors a few times. Whichever professor I thought was pretty cool is whichever one I wound up aligning myself with, and I was going to major in whatever that person taught from that point. Guys, we got one more burning question, and it really is so significantly more important than the rest of these. So, Dirk, I can see the sweat building up on you. What is your favorite trucking song? And we're absolutely, Jim, going to put you first on this one because Dirk looks like he's still mapping it out for me over there.
This is an easy one for me. Life is a Highway.
Love it.
Rascal Flatts.
Love it.
Yep. That song brings me back to a specific memory in my career at a big internal conference, and whenever I hear that song, it goes up.
There you go.
50 decibels.
There you go.
Yep.
I love it. And what's interesting is hearing your stories. I think that one is very applicable, and I think it's kind of applicable to both of you. So that's very cool.
It can be a curvy highway, but it's definitely a highway.
It can absolutely be a curvy highway. And Dirk, you're on the highway now, so it's all on you.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this? Legal corporate counsel is in here, and this may or this may or may not be the way I got through college. But cheating off a Jim and stating that life is a highway, I think that's pretty good, Jim.
Oh, my goodness.
How about that for both of us?
I love it. Yep.
I like it. Okay, well, when we grade your test later, we'll try not to look over and see that every answer is identical, and we'll just go from there. But the fact that you know each other, it's maybe a little bit more history than cheating. So we'll go with that.
Exactly. And I just real quickly want to comment. I've had a long career, and I've always respected my bosses. But I've never had a boss that's a true friend before. And so this is kind of a unique experience for me. And for you to mention that and comment on that and pick up on that, I thought that was pretty cool.
I appreciate that. Well, it is very obvious, so it's an easy thing to pick up on. And this was also an easy conversation to have, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad I had a chance to actually sit down with you guys. I know there's a lot of moving parts going on. I'm glad we had a few minutes to sit down and talk. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thank you for being here. I thank you for sitting down with me. We thank the listeners for listening in. That's going to be a wrap. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Logistics Unplugged. That is a wrap on part 2 of our special edition LTL Carrier Summit series here on Logistics Unplugged. A big thank you to all our guests for sharing their perspectives and to everyone for listening in. As the freight landscape continues to evolve, these conversations play a key role in shaping how we move forward together. So as always, we thank you for being here. We thank you for all the insights from our guests. We thank you for the attention of our listeners, and we appreciate you continuing to help us make it better. We'll see you next time on Logistics Unplugged.